It's another crazy day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Karlov Manor cards have made their way into people's hands, and there are a bunch of angry Magic players. And on top of that, Wizards of the Coast is making big changes to upcoming Magic cons.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The Magic Historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for a fat installment of Mega Magic News, the Mark Karlov edition. Speaking of which, guys, there are a ton of people, there are even threads dedicated to this, talking about this Karlov Manor set and calling it Markov Manor because it just rolls off the tongue with those M sounds. But did you know there is actually a Magic story from back in like 2016, 2015, somewhere around there, where they have Markov Manor in the actual story title. So the cards were stacked against us all along. On top of it just feeling right, we've already been previously fed Markov Manor. I wondered why I kept firing off Markov over and over. It's Soren and his family's fault. So it's funny that it's reached the point where people are addressing it on Reddit threads. But that's not what we're really here to talk about. So obviously during this video, if I say Markov instead of Karlov, you know what we're discussing. So the pre-release just happened yesterday. I went out, had some fun. In fact, I've got a pre-release report up on my live stream archive. So if you want to know more about that, you can check that out. But we're going to talk about the overall reaction of all the different people and some of the good results as well as some of the anger, because it's not all bad news today, okay? So hang on to some hope because I actually have some positive things to say about Wizards today. But let's start with what's tweaking people off when it comes to the Karlov Manor set. So pre-release kits come out, and first things first, guys, you want to know about the card quality? It's terrible. It's terrible. My friend playing with me was just like, bro, what's with the cards? Why are they so bad? And I'm like, oh, because the price went up by 30%, right? So you're just sitting there going, he's like, no, like really, feel, like he's literally forcing, like, feel this card. You can feel how awful it is. You can tell the difference. It's that level where we talk about card quality. We already know it's bad, and it's gotten worse. The foils that were in my kit, the edges of them are all scuffed up and beat. I don't know what moron decided that you should cut the sheets from behind or whatever it is that specifically causes this damaging the edges of the front facing of the foil premium cards. This is tweaking a bunch of people, myself included, right? That's a big one, bro. And my foil, like one of them specifically had a bunch of faded out lettering. What happened to the days where they actually cared about foils? And actually, there's something we're going to talk about a little later that ties into this that is cool and irksome at the same time. So people are upset about that. They're upset about the card quality. They're upset about the overall flavor of the set, where it's just a bunch of Capennin stuff shoved in there. And I will say 100%, when I was playing it, it did not feel like Ravnica. It's got a mishmash of stuff. It feels like they've shoved stuff from Innistrad in there and a bunch of other random sets like Kaladesh on top of having that major Capenna feel to it. So people had a problem with that. When you turn to the bundles, Wizards has gotten crazy with their whole puzzle concept for this set. And actually, there are some fun aspects that we're going to talk about. But starting out with the negative problems that people are having, one is the bundle die. So you get yourself a bundle, the spin down die that you get in there is missing two different numbers on it. I believe it's the number 2 and the number 16. And the reason for that is you're actually supposed to be able to look through the die to solve this puzzle that's included inside the box. And conceptually on the surface of it, that's kind of cool, but it causes multiple problems. One is it literally impacts the functionality of the die itself, right? You're supposed to be able to set it there, and there's two different blank sides on it. So you have to look around it to figure out what the number is. And the idea is you're supposed to be able to see your life total. Your opponent's supposed to be able to see your life total. So it basically renders it, I wouldn't say completely unusable, but it makes it annoying and fiddly just for the purpose of being able to look through the die once and see like this, oh, you can look through the red coating or whatever. And I have to say, that's not worth it. And this is affecting not just regular players who are just like, is there something wrong with my die? This set is actually upsetting the misprint collector groups. They already had the problem before where they were like, oh, the serialized nonsense and Wizards' poor card quality is getting worse and worse. So there's more and more misprints. So they had to make a completely separate group for you to go and shove all that stuff into so they could have their major misprints. But now, like, people will go in there and go, check it out. I got this misprinted spin down. So now you have a bunch of people showing up in there going, what's up with this spin down? And they're just going, no, look, Wizards, I know it's confusing to get dice with no numbers on them, but Wizards did this on purpose because they thought it was clever. And the misprint group's also dealing with the fact that, remember how I said there was 3 different cards that had different artwork aspects? Look, there's a red cape on this guy, there's a white cape on this guy or whatever. Turns out there's at least 10. There might be one for each guild. So this again is causing problems for people in the misprint groups and just regular Magic players where they're looking at them going, is this a quality control issue or is this intentional, right? Wizards of the Coast has done such a poor job of managing card quality that people can't tell when they're looking at intentional puzzles whether it's an intentional puzzle. And that makes perfect sense because that's literally my experience as well. When I saw the cards, I was just like, okay, did you guys do that on purpose? So you've got a number of different aspects that people are unhappy about, but there is actually a bunch of stuff that people are enjoying. Now, I will say this is a mixed bag. Some people view this set as Agatha Christie mystery, but with way too many events going on in terms of, can you just pick one to focus on and take us through the flow of it? And actually, speaking of going through the flow, if you'd like to know the story of the Karlov Manor set, I have the entirety of it released. So if you want to see the whole story, I have that available over on my Fantasy Geographic YouTube channel, and then you'll know everything that's going on. So there's some people who really dig this setup. They enjoy the mystery aspect of it, and there's other people who are just, bro, I don't like this at all. So now what I want to talk about is actually the positive side of all this puzzle stuff that Wizards is doing, because I know that I come down on them harshly, and I've said many times before that I wish they would go back to the old way where they made pre-releases into bigger events and put more effort into it. So we have a very weird scenario where the set itself feels like they didn't put very much effort into it. It's just a bunch of slush art they already had kicking around from Ravnica and Capenna with a bunch of other stuff sprinkled in, stapled together into something that doesn't make sense. The card story actually is less coherent than the written story. So the set itself is a mishmash of like laziness, but the actual puzzle aspect that they did around it smacks of a ton of effort. If you guys didn't know, I showed you the insert that came in the pre-release kit. That's the first puzzle. There's over a dozen puzzles starting today and going all the way up until February 14th. Wizards of the Coast is releasing daily puzzles, and the clues to solve these puzzles are located in different areas. So the pre-release kit is what you use for the first couple of these clues. We already looked at the insert. That was the first day. The second day is really neat. What's going on is you have these clue cards, right? So on the front, you've got the token. On the back, you've got this artwork. You've got this punch card that came along with the tokens. Well, there's actually a little mystery code on there. You might not be able to see it because the camera might not be focusing, but it says mystery file, the unusual unlock, ravnicadetectiveagency.com. If you go to that website, that's where you enter in the information for the puzzles. And people have figured out that on this card, you can see there are little coins with numbers written on them. So you punch the little counters out of this card, but then you put them together and it actually will show you parts of the artwork, right? So basically, okay, all right. So you go like this, you put it over top. Now, I'm not showing you the exact spot, right? But each one corresponds to a different location. I don't know how it's sorted. I just think it's really cool that they included that in the pre-release kit because it was just there, tucked away in the little in the plastic with the promo stuff. I had no idea that it was even in there. So things like the spin down die missing numbers, that's a big miss. You shouldn't do that. If somebody buys a bundle 5 months down the road, that's going to be a feel bad experience, right? But stuff like this, where it's subtly included on game components. It's on the back of a token card and on the punch out. So you can use those to play the game and not even know it's there. That's such a cool way to layer this in. Like, bro, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I love puzzles. That's actually one of the things I really love about Magic the Gathering is a game of Magic is like an ever-shifting puzzle that you may or may not be able to solve. Sometimes you can't even win the game, right? Like that is part of what makes Magic so interesting, the ever-shifting complexity and the puzzle nature of it. So I really dig this Ravnican mystery file stuff. So we're on the second puzzle already. If you go to the website, it gives you the different clues, but it will also keep track of the different kind of things that you've already uncovered. And today's clue has to do with Fibblethip. Apparently, Fibblethip is hiding in a bunch of artwork for this set. Now, I haven't seen him anywhere, and it might turn out that he's hiding on foils. Remember earlier when I talked about foils being a problem and we touch on it again? Well, back in the day, they used to actually highlight particular aspects of foils, okay? So you'd get like a chameleon colossus and the little birds in the sky would be foiled. And what that would do is it would really highlight different aspects of the artwork, and it really made me fall in love with foils. Wizards of the Coast stopped doing this. They just slap a Garbo foil layer onto the card and call it a day. But take a look at this card. Notice there's a little thing going on in the background. There's something on the gravestone back there. There are foil cards that have extra aspects to the artwork included in them as part of a clue. This is such a neat concept, and it makes me wonder if Fibblethip is also somehow hiding in here, right? Is he hidden in like a foil aspect? But either way, you have to go and hunt Fibblethip, and this is just the second day's puzzle. So for me, this is an awesome idea. I don't know every single step they're going to do of it, but they have these different decoders on the website to help you out. They're using Roman numerals and they're using Magic expansion code names, the 3-letter code names for Magic expansion. So I'm actually really curious to see how this is all going to play out. And there is a reward at the end. So if you do all of these puzzles, and don't worry, if you're not a puzzle person, it's all just at the end of it. Once you solve it all, you're just going to be given sentences that you type into the website, and that's all it is. So you'll totally, if you want to, be able to just go and punch those codes in and get the same results. Or basically what's going on is once you do it all, Wizards is going to go, here's sleeves for Arena. So they might just have a code that you get and then someone will share it online and you don't even have to go and type all that stuff in. But either way, you're going to be able to get that reward regardless. But there's another level to it, and this is something they've never done before that I'm curious, and admittedly, there's a bit of trepidation I have about it as well. So when the last installment basically of this puzzle gets solved, the first person to solve it will trigger an event, and this is really cool. Basically, it will unlock the next installment of the story on Magic's website. There is a little part of me that it's like Wizards of the Coast sometimes doesn't have things set up right, so I don't know if it will automatically trigger the moment somebody solves it or if it'll just send an email off to somebody going, Bill, release the lore now! But either way, we get follow-up lore to the Karlov story. So like I said, it's all over on my lore channel if you want to check out the whole thing. But there's going to be a follow-up installment, which I presume is going to connect Kellen going to find his father Oko in Thunder Junction, because that's where we're going next. So I expect a follow-up that gives us the bridge omen path to the next area. I don't know what it's going to be, but what I will do is I will do a summary video of it over on Fantasy G Graphics. So if you want to know what's going on with that story, you can expect that about mid-month, and you can check out the rest in the mid-time. Now, a side note that, oh, no, one more puzzle thing that I didn't mention here. The puzzle stuff is spreading to all kinds of different locations. So you have commander deck inserts as well that have this little wheel on the side that can be used to sort out a puzzle. And each of them look like they have the name of the case that they're attached to, so that way you'll be able to sort it out. People are getting pretty convoluted with their solutions for some of this because we don't have all the information. And you can tell, like, well, like I said, Magic's a puzzle. It's going to bring in a bunch of puzzlers. So they're coming up with these huge extrapolations that are going to be way further than Wizards had intended to go with this. And once we see all the information, you're going to realize you were going like, oh, I'm building this huge theorem. And it's like, oh, actually, it was just boom, boom, boom. It's going to be, there's some puzzling to it, but it's simple enough that everybody can get down with it. Because remember, the pre-release insert was confusing some people. They didn't understand that they had to parse out which part they had and follow the choose your own adventure, even though it did feel pretty much straightforward. Now, like I said, little side note, sad news side note, Carl Weathers has passed on. He was you may know him from things like Happy Gilmore, or he was awesome in Arrested Development as that grifter. Fantastic, right? But in terms of Magic, he was actually in some really awesome Magic promotional commercial action where it was just like, bro, this is fantastic. So I've enjoyed him in a bunch of stuff, and I just wanted to include that as a salute to a great man who has passed on to another place. All right, now, let's talk about the big changes to MagicCon, and here's where it's going to get weird, guys. It's all good news, okay? This is good news, and I'm just going, bro, the amount of effort they put into the puzzle with Ravnica, and this right here says to me, hey, maybe things are going to be heading upwards, and I could use some of that. So, MagicCon Chicago is introducing Family Magic. Now, when I heard that, I honestly just waved it away and went, okay, sure, you're just saying bring your kids, and maybe you'll have a commander area where kids can go and play with their families and whatever. Big deal, big whoop. But then I read into it, and the more I read into it, I was like, what? No, dude, what? Okay, I want in. So basically, they're going to have a whole bunch of different features for kids. First off, they're going to have Play-Doh in Magic the Gathering colors to muck about with, right? I love Play-Doh. I don't know about you guys, but back in the day, there was this barbershop set, and you could actually push the Play-Doh up in them, and it would spurt out their head and look crazy hair, and you could cut it and everything, man. That was awesome. Always been a huge Play-Doh fan. And if they're going to be like jars in colored, like for Magic with like the Planeswalker symbols on them and stuff, I love all the side Magic items. I wish that I lived in the States, so all those crazy Magic food products, I could have got those too, but a lot of that stuff doesn't make it. We don't matter down here in Canada. Get out your tiny violins and play for us, okay? So, they're going to have coloring pages that feature Magic the Gathering characters, so you can just color those guys in however you want. Crown crafting, you get to make your own regal Liliana style crown. Like, bro, there's a WizKids paint and tank situation where they have minis, where you go and paint the minis there while you're there and take them home. There's going to be the free play area where you can actually go and play Magic card. They're going to play Magic. They're going to have Draw with a Magic Artist. They're doing Draw with a Magic Artist, where for half an hour, well-known Magic artists will come and sit down with these kids and teach them how to draw and paint, give them like beginner introductory lessons. And there's like 4 or 5 different Magic artists all doing this. So you could spend hours painting and drawing with Magic artists. The people who bring the flavor of Magic to full-on life, bro. Like, it's insane. I'm not gonna lie. I started to read all this stuff and I'm like, yo, I need to go grab somebody's kid, make them call me daddy. You know what? Hearing it out loud, just say I'd like to participate, and I didn't just say what I said there, okay? I just want to be a part of this, man. They have a cosplay competition. They have a trivia competition. I promise you right now, the Magic historian can beat anybody at Magic trivia, let alone some 6-year-olds, man. I'm ready to go elbows out against those 6-year-olds. You don't know nothing, Billy. The prize is mine. I'm getting the cookie or whatever it is. That's really what it has nothing to do with the Magic theme and everything to do with my self-esteem and wanting to just like elbow drop kids in a trivia competition. So, on to this, there's still more. They have a league. Now it's Jumpstart. Jumpstart's perfect for kids, right? Super simple. Here are your Jumpstart packs. Jump on in, Billy. But they're doing something really cool where if you win your game, guess what? Here you go. You get 4 cards. You can keep them. You can add them to your deck, whatever makes you happy. Did you lose? Well, you need some help, man. No worries. Here's 2 cards. So no matter what, win or lose, the kid gets something. So you don't have to worry. Like, I'm not a big believer in the whole participation ribbon thing that they used to do back when I was in track and field, because just like there's such a thing as winners and losers, but that is still illustrated in the fact that winners get 4 cards, the losers aren't left out, and it allows them to change and improve their deck and have the joy of customization. Like, for real, this is a really cool idea. And then on top of that, they have character story time, where they're going to have somebody dressed up in full-on Magic cosplay reading stories to the kids, like based on the Markov. I'm guessing they're going to have to modify it and just tell some side stories or something, because the main story might be too much for the little kids. But like, for real, this is awesome. There's a part of me that is 100% jealous of people who have like raised their kids up, and it's like little Billy's getting old enough that it's time to start playing Magic. He's not just going to crumple the cards up in his fist, and I can bring him in on that. Like, that is super awesome. Being able to go to conventions and have all this stuff going on. I imagine some people just couldn't go out to conventions literally because it's like, okay, what am I going to do with my kids? Like, I'm going to leave them here. But now you can be like, you can bring your kids, you can drag your wife along, and she can just be like, oh, how much is this costing us? I don't even like this game. Either way, Wizards of the Coast is actually making some good moves. Ultimately, when it comes to the Karlov Manor stuff, I have genuine concerns that if we keep moving down this road, seeing a premiere set turned into basically like a sideshow attraction with no real concern about its impact on the game overall. Like, they have no intentions of making detectives a real thing going forward. They were just shoved in there to utilize the Capenna arc they're kicking around. So, like, the side things that they're doing, the puzzle stuff, great. Improving MagicCon, great. But fundamentally, underneath it all, we still have the genuine problems of poor card quality and poor set design combined with ever spiraling prices. So, I mean, I will admit that this actually did fully give me some more hope. And talking about the story, like I said, the card written story, like the card story itself on the cards, barely gives you any details and somewhat contradicts the written story. But the written story is the best put together written story that we've had in years. That doesn't make it an amazing banger story, but I'm just saying, in terms of consistency and coherence, where you follow from part to part, the story follows through, all that kind of stuff, it's properly happening in the story. And the author did do a bunch of like follow-up blurbs, so it didn't come across as this. Previous lores, some of them especially, really felt like it was a school assignment that was given to somebody, and they just went, okay, how quickly can I do this? How much is the teacher paying attention to actually marking it? And we saw that they weren't in the past with like the March of the Machine storyline having problems where characters literally, like Akiri was called Akira, and it's like, that's one of your characters been multiple sets, and you didn't even have somebody read it again to check the name, right? Like, when you read stories like that, it's really frustrating because you're pulled out of it. But when I was reading this story, there wasn't a lot of that going on. There was a few moments where you just kind of go, but ultimately, good luck finding a story where you don't have anything like that. And Magic the Gathering lore, let's be fair, has only ever been somewhat middle of the road. But this story definitely is a step in the right direction. So if Wizards spends more time on the lore like they have, put more effort in like they did with the puzzle, find ways to bring more people in and make experiences better like they do with I assume that this family thing is going to go over quite well. I'll let you guys know if it doesn't. But overall, Magic is in a very odd place right now. The sales for Karlov Manor are not great, and we're already seeing fire sales from big retailers looking to move extra product because the increased price plus the cognitive dissonance that's been created by the set is definitely causing some people to go, yeah, you know, and there's other people, I've seen it. It's a sentiment being shared by older players who really appreciate the old school flavor of Magic, going, this really doesn't feel like Magic to me anymore, and I just find myself unable to focus on it. It's not like I'm mad about it. It's not like I'm like, whatever. It's literally just like I just start to look and my brain just loses interest and moves on to something else. It's almost like they're fading away. So I get that mentality because I've felt aspects of it before, but I do see that not everything is awful with Magic the Gathering. So that gives me hope. Now that we've wrapped all that up, I will say once again, the story is over on my Fantasy Geographic Lore channel. And I did a live stream talking about my pre-release experience, and there was also a MetaZoo freakout in the live stream as well. So that's available over on my live stream archive. And if it wasn't confusing enough to tell you about Fantasy Geographic and my live stream archive, guess what? Tonight, I'm doing a live stream over on my other channel called Hatcher, because apparently I have 8 million YouTube channels. Either way, thanks for coming by, my friends. Let me know what you think in the comments. Big shout out to my patrons. Thanks for supporting my channel. You guys rule, and I will see you all in the next video.